Today on Monkey Life, a gibbon family is released back into the wild at the park's sister sanctuary in Vietnam.
Whole family together, little baby on board, reaching out and grabbing its own bits and pieces. Only day one, but good first day.
But despite months of careful planning, in a matter of days, the team lose track of the family.
From that point onwards, I think that was the last time they were seen, was when I was there. We never saw them again.
And back at the park, Queen of Bubbles A-mei doesn't share, even with Big Boss Tuan. Monkey World in Dorset, buried deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. The team, led by Dr. Alison, rescue and rehabilitate abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
I can't keep her in, get her in. Okay, got it.
The park provides a home for more than 260 monkeys and apes from 24 different species. The world may be on pause, coping with the COVID-19 pandemic, but life carries on at Monkey World and its sister sanctuary in Vietnam. Dao Tien is an island reserve lying within Cat Tien National Park in the Dong Nai province, 160 miles northeast of Ho Chi Minh City. Set up 12 years ago with the full support of the Vietnamese authorities, it was the brainchild of Monkey World's director, Dr. Alison and her late husband, Jim. The centre is now run by Dr. Marina Kenyon and her partner Lee, with the help of a dedicated Vietnamese team.
The coronavirus has just rocked the world, and it's no different even out in the middle of the forest in Cat Tien National Park. So Marina and Lee are trying to protect their primate care staff, our family on Dao Tien, both animals and, all of the people who work there and look after our primates. So it's just really strange because since Dao Tien's inception, all of those years ago, more than 10 years ago, I've always gone out there every year. It's sort of like my second home, and usually a couple of times per year. So it seems odd that right now I can't do that.
Set in 56 hectares of lush native forest, the centre aims to rescue and rehabilitate endangered Vietnamese primates from Southeast Asia and ultimately release them back into the wild. The team have enjoyed huge success with pygmy lorises. 88 have made it back into the trees so far. They've had more limited success with langurs and golden-cheeked gibbons. Unable to make one of her regular visits, today Alison is catching up with Marina via a video call.
Well, I wish I could come out and see you guys again, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen until next year, I don't think.
Yeah, things are changing fast out here. I think we're going to get used to the fact they've got COVID and then maybe relax a little.
Oh, yeah, it really means, the world is a different and dangerous place, but it just sort of puts everything on hold, everybody's world on hold, I suppose.
Yes, I know.
And are they allowing everybody at Dao Tien to continue working as usual, or?
You have to wear a mask, but no, everyone's been fine.
Okay.
Life may be far from normal at Dao Tien, but sadly that hasn't stopped the influx of primates needing rescue and rehabilitation. Since 2008, the centre has received 17 douc langurs in need of care. But recently, the number of infants arriving has increased dramatically. The team now have 5 youngsters to look after.
We have Do, Anna, Vu, Lum and Anthony.
It hasn't been an easy going few months for Liam Marina because recently there's just been this huge increase in infants being confiscated and brought to us. So you're torn. I am very happy that all of those baby Dukes are in Liam Marina's care and that the team on Dao Tien have come a long way in knowing how to look after them and for all of the bumps in the road that you're going to encounter in terms of their behavior, their emotional stability, and mainly their digestion, which is really tough to handle and look after. So hats off to them. They're doing a really good job and under difficult circumstances.
Alison's most recent visit to Dao Tien was last year, during the rainy season. She went to help Marina and the team release a family of gibbons back into the wild. They were Limwen, his mate Misu, and their 3 children. They were transported to a release site at La Na, part of Cat Tien National Park. The journey wasn't easy. The team had to travel over land and by boat, and then on foot through lush native forest. It wasn't the first time Limwen and Misu had been released. 5 years ago, the pair, then just young adults, were let out in a different part of the rainforest. Unfortunately, Misu spotted a wild male and took off after him, while Limwen panicked, became frightened, and headed to the ground. The pair had to be caught and taken back to Dao Tien. 5 years on, with the family bigger, stronger, and more mature, it was time for a second attempt at release. This time to an area with no other gibbons, apart from a female called Bin, released by the team earlier in the year. The team hoped Savvy, Limwen and Misu's eldest son, would find her and pair bond.
I've come back out to see Bin. She's about 2 kilometers away in the forest and actually doing really well. She's lost a bit of weight, but that's to be expected. And now we're bringing Limwen and Misu's family. There are 5 of them all together. We've gotten radio collars on 3 of them, on Limwen, Misu, and then their eldest son, Savvy. And we're about to take them out into the forest to their release site, which isn't too far away from Bin. So we're hoping the eldest son, Savvy, communicates with Bin and that they might actually pair up in the end. So it's a really exciting time, getting goosebumps, because this is like a big, vulnerable family group that we're now taking out into this new area to repopulate with gibbons. So fingers crossed everything goes okay. They've made it this far so far.
It was a 4-kilometre trek through thick forest to the release site, carrying heavy cages along a saturated track. The going was tough, but eventually the team arrived at their destination, an area of forest perfect for a gibbon release, with tall fruiting trees and dense canopy. The team wasted no time getting the family into a temporary cage, where they spent the night together getting used to the sights and sounds of the forest, before being released the next day.
We've just got them here now, and all's really calm. They're just hungry, and the 2 adults are just spending their time looking into the trees, saying, "And yes, can we go now?" So it's all looking really good. But Limwen in particular is pumped up. He's an adult male now, ready to go.
Early the following morning, the family were quietly released, and later, Alison, Marina and the team went back to the site to check on them.
We've managed to find Limwen and Misu and their family. They're not far from the release site, but we've got fruit up in a supply basket for them. Not interested. We've tracked them down. Not sure even how many meters away from the release site, but to a wild fruit tree. They're eating leaves, eating fruit. Whole family together, little baby on board, reaching out and grabbing its own bits and pieces. This is the start of repopulating this whole area. It's just fantastic. So only day 1, but good first day.
48 hours later, Alison headed home. But in the days that followed, concern grew.
They looked rock solid, so I left Vietnam at that point in time feeling very confident that Lim Nguyen, Misu and their family were strong and that they were in the vicinity of Bin, who was also still doing really well. And then from that point onwards, I think that was the last time they were seen, was when I was there. We never saw them again.
The situation went from bad to worse when, a few weeks later, female Bin had to be recaptured. She had approached local fruit farmers, leaving the safety of the tree canopy for the ground, possibly looking for food. This made her a target for poachers. It was a big blow for the team. Since then, Marina has spent countless days in the forest, searching in vain for a sighting of the Gibbon family. Although unable to track them down, she recently heard gibbons calling.
You're thinking that Lim Nguyen might still be out there?
I think Lim Nguyen's still out there. Mr. Bin thinks Miss Lim Nguyen is still out there. Whether with full family, we don't know. When we were searching, I was always drawn to this one plot of forest, which was beautiful, where I could smell gibbon feces. and that's also where we've been hearing the calls from.
Okay.
It's beautiful. It's lovely gibbon habitat. They could quite happily stay there and be quiet.
Alison isn't sure.
I believe that they're probably still out there, or tragically, maybe she's been hunted and the group fragmented. We'll march on regardless. That's a lesson that we've learned over and over again here, and it's the same for them in Vietnam. But I'm hopeful, cautiously hopeful.
Marina and her team will monitor the area for evidence of the released gibbon family when they can. And they'll continue their work to rescue and rehabilitate endangered Vietnamese primates in the hope of future successful releases into the forest. It's the start of what promises to be a very hot day at the park. With temperatures set to soar, the primate care staff are aware how important it is to keep their charges cool and hydrated. At Tuan's orangutan enclosure, Jarno and James are taking the opportunity to put out breakfast before the sun gets too high in the sky. They want to make the group of 5 work for their meal while temperatures are cooler. And there's a fun treat in store too.
Straight away, when they come out, we're gonna make them working hard to get their breakfast, so they have to climbing around. And then, after they've been working really, really hard, we literally provide some lots of buckets fill up with lots of bubbles as well, so they can chill out playing with bubbles. So that is, I think, sort of good deal. So work hard and then chilling out with bubbles, so perfect for them.
Breakfast is being served high up on the climbing frame and in puzzle feeders all over the enclosure.
Look at that. If they don't climb up, get high, all the time, of course, they're just getting lazy and their muscles starting getting weak and they just eat too much and they're just getting so fat. So yeah, what we try to do is try to get them as high as possible pretty much every day.
The enrichment will give the group a full-on early morning workout. Atwan is first out of the blocks, sprinting across to the climbing frame. She ignores the bubbles in the tub for now, opting instead for some nice cool yogurt that's been smeared over the hosing. Roro, with Hujan glued to her back, checks out a bucket of bubbles on the ground, with the youngster paying careful attention. He's always learning from the adults, but today, Roro decides it's far too hot to be carrying him around and tries to offload her passenger. Eventually, Hujan gets the message. He's confident enough, and more than capable of heading off and finding his own breakfast. Free from the burden of carrying her surrogate son, Roro heads up to join Awan, where there's a whole lot of fresh browse to enjoy. The enrichment is having a positive effect on everyone. Normally sedate leader Tuan is off the ground, but he can't seem to make his mind up what to try next. While most of the group tuck into breakfast, A-mei has her eyes firmly fixed on the bubbles.
A-mei is the queen of the bubbles. That's why we provide as many as top truck possible. Once we only did one top truck. Literally, A-mei not letting somebody else to play with it. She loves bubbles. She even dunked her face inside the top truck as well.
But she's not the only one. Awan's enjoying a good wash. Bubble Queen A-mei doesn't share. No one's getting their hands on her tub, not even dominant male Tuan. As for Hujan, he's making the most of being independent. For such a small chap, he's a brilliant climber. But gathering in the food once you've reached it isn't so easy when you're small. And other more mature and experienced orangutans know climbing isn't always necessary. If less skilled housemates are kind enough to drop it down from up high. And when it's such a hot day, what better way to cool down than a quick dip in the bubbles? Tuan's group of orangutans aren't the only ones being kept cool today. At the Gibbon complex, Jake and Zoey, two of the park's golden-cheeked gibbons, are being given an icy treat. Their daily portion of fruit has been frozen in a low-calorie juice to form lollies. But to get their fruity lunch, the pair will have to make an effort, digging the fruit out of the ice. They don't waste any time and attack the ice lollies with relish. At 33, Zoey is the older of the two, by 8 years. She arrived at the park from Pingtung Rescue Center in Taiwan. Jake came to Monkey World in 2004 from Los Angeles Zoo to be paired with Zoey. The pair bonded well and have successfully raised 2 offspring, Kim and Zach, who now live with partners of their own. The frozen lollies prove no obstacle. The gibbon's huge canine teeth are perfect for breaking through the ice. Gibbons are lesser apes, and like all the great ape species, they don't have tails. They use their long arms to dangle in the tree canopy and swing through the branches, and can travel at speed. Unlike the great apes, gibbons generally form long-term pair bonds, and Jake and Zoey are a perfect example. But the couple have contrasting characters.
As a pair, they are completely different in personalities. Jake, most people can say he's probably got a split personality. To some people, he's really, really loving, kind, gentle boy. Whereas to others, he always likes to crash around the enclosure, show how masculine he is. Whereas Zoey, she's completely different. She's always keeps to herself. She'll often completely ignore everyone. She doesn't crave us humans, which is lovely to see. But then she also does have a really sweet side. So in the late afternoons, you often see them sat together grooming, which is really nice.
They're a happy and contented pair, and testament to the work and dedication of the care team who look after this endangered species. At the Loris complex, the housemates are about to be given their breakfast outside. The new enclosure has been specially designed for these nocturnal primates. It has native planting and insects mimicking nighttime conditions, and a natural setting they can enjoy. Today, the lorises have been given freshly harvested local maize, corn still in the husk.
They're not particularly tough, you know, it has got quite a tough outside, but Loris aren't like some of the larger, more evolved apes that could work it out and work out how to peel it like you might see the chimps or even the capuchins doing. So they'll just go at it like a bull in a china shop and use their incisors to actually gouge through that husk without thinking to pull it and peel it back. They'll just gouge through it and just to get to the yellow inside.
One loris who loves his new enclosure, particularly when food is involved, is Axel. These little primates aren't the fastest of movers, but this morning he's left his housemates behind to get a head start and make the most of the tasty corn.
He's barreled out into his outside enclosure after smelling the corn and has attacked it pretty much and ripped it to shreds with his really strong teeth, which is excellent because in the wild loris gouge tree bark to get at the sap and the exudates that come from the trees, and in captivity that's quite hard to replicate. We don't have the same species of trees and things that they'd eat in the wild, so anything that we can give them to make them gouge and get to the sweeter inner core of whatever food item it is, then the better for their dentition and their tooth health.
Lorises are incredibly flexible, using their vice-like grip on branches to hang and twist to reach food, before engaging their sharp teeth. Axel is in his element. The problem for the team is he likes his food in the enclosure so much that when it's time for bed, he doesn't want to leave. But Nick has come up with a solution.
We have been doing recall training with the loris, so when we do operant conditioning, if we give them a food item such as nectar or gum through a syringe, that we ring up a small little set of jingle bells at the same time so that when they hear those bells, they know to come through the tunnel or into another room, expecting the food item that they favour.
Axel Rose.
But getting him back inside with the whole corn on the acrobat there might prove to be a bit more tricky. But we'll see how we go, and there's no problem with him hanging around outside on a nice day like today.
But Axel demonstrates even a Bengal slow loris can speed up when there's a treat to be had. Next time on Monkey Life. Jeremy turns inventor to encourage his old friend, orangutan A-mei, off the ground.
Come on, A-mei, get up there.
But he gets the brush off.
Don't give me that look. I divorced you a long time ago.
And woolly monkey Pichihua takes her time deciding if she wants to be friends with impressive male Levar. Today on Monkey Life, Marmoset Queenie gets a visit from an old friend.
You're a good girl, aren't you?
And is happy to say hello.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. She looks so content and happy.
Jeremy turns inventor to encourage his old friend, orangutan A-mei, off the ground.
Come on, A-mei, get up there.
But gets the brush off.
Don't give me that look. I divorced you a long time ago.
And woolly monkey Pichihua takes her time deciding if she wants to be friends with impressive male Levar. Monkey World in Dorset, buried deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. The team, led by Dr. Alison, rescue and rehabilitate abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
Everybody's well aware that they need to be looked after carefully. They should be okay.
The park provides a home for more than 260 monkeys and apes from 24 different species. Over the past 7 months, the primate care team have undertaken a complicated and complex shake-up of the woolly monkey groups, due in part to the number of male woollies at the park. It's involved moving numerous individuals and led to the setting up of Monkey World's first all-male bachelor woolly group. It's been a challenging time, but was essential in order to keep the monkeys' stress levels down and keep them healthy.
Introductions can be a little bit stressful because it does mean having to split up the groups. We try and sort of push these intros on nice and smoothly so that it's not interfering with their sort of dynamics too much. So getting them all together, is really important.
Today marks an important milestone, the final piece of the puzzle. Pichihua, a 10-year-old female recently rehomed from Gaia Zoo in the Netherlands, is about to become a full-time member of Levar's troupe at the Top Woolies. But to complicate things a little further, Xingu, the dominant female of the group, has just given birth.
We've kind of been waiting sort of for the past few weeks. Every week is probably going to be this week, and just kind of waiting, but not trying to sort of hold off too much on all the other things that we've needed to do. Quite a big baby, and looks very, very strong and healthy. Her two daughters, Olivia and Layla, were very interested. So Xingu's been letting them come over and say hello, but she's just taken it in her stride. She's a fantastic mum, so she's doing really well, and he seems quite sort of alert and confident and quite advanced already for such a little thing.
It's not just the newborn infant and Pichihua who are going to have to get used to new surroundings. Completing the picture, female Isla is going to be let outside for the first time, with Enzo's group, at the Pond Woolies.
Good girl.
It's going to be a busy morning for the team. Starting with Pichihua, who's in a travel box on her way to Levar's house.
Good girl.
Once inside, she'll be given a bit of time to get used to her new surroundings, before being introduced to the big man himself.
It's going to be a much more natural kind of home environment for her, nice, strong social structure, really nice group of monkeys. So, we're really excited to just kind of see how the introductions go, and we've got a lot of optimism in how she's going to settle in with this group.
With Pichihua in place, some of the team head over to the Pond Woolies to open the slides to their outdoor enclosure. They're hoping Isla will follow the group through the long tunnel connecting the house to their magnificent tree-filled space. New boss Enzo leads the way. Making up the group are Pakaya and her two daughters, Oriana, and the youngest member, Enya. They're an incredibly close-knit family who have a very strong relationship with Enzo. Time will tell if Isla can fit in and develop the same affinity. The group make contact calls to encourage her. And, after a few minutes, Isla makes the journey across to the large outdoor enclosure.
She was really brave. She was quite excited, I think, just this big open space. She went straight up onto the high beams, exploring through the trees. Quite impressive for her first day. She was quite bold, and she seems to be really enjoying that space and being a woolly monkey, really enjoying those higher up areas. So I think it's been a really successful first day.
While Isla settles in and gets to know her new home, back at the Top Woolies, Pichihua is about to come face to face with the new man in her life. Kind and gentle giant, Levar. They're meeting in one of the bedrooms, and Levar greets his new lady with an impressive display. Pichihua isn't fazed by the male bravado, but keeps her distance, while Levar does his best to show off. It's early days, but after months of planning, countless moves, and complex introductions, the park's 4 woolly groups are complete, which will help all 24 woolies at the park lead happy and healthy lives. It's not just the woolly monkey residents whose lives and circumstances have changed recently. been 8 months since common marmoset Queenie left her life as a pet trade animal to live with others of her own kind at the park. The care team introduced her to a number of other marmosets, both male and female, with varying results. But now they think they've found the perfect combination.
Queenie's now really settled. She's living in the squirrel monkey house, not with the squirrel monkeys. She's actually living with a male marmoset called Mickey, and they're getting on really, really well. She actually seems a little bit dominant over him, which is nice, but they groom, they interact, they bed down together, so they're getting on really well, and it's really nice to see.
Today, Queenie is having visitors. Her previous owners, who asked Alison to rehome her, have arrived and are keen to see how well she's settled in. Jill and her husband Chris did everything possible to cater for her needs. But they realised that what Queenie needed most was companionship of her own kind.
Hey, missus, you want to come down here? Come on, then.
Much to Jill's delight, Queenie comes over to say hello.
You're a good girl, aren't you? Hey, my little baby.
She was one of the more fortunate pet trade marmosets and clearly had a good relationship with her owner.
I mean, these masks don't help. Obviously, she can't see your face, but she just knew straight away.
Clearly, you guys cared about her. Oh, yeah, there was no doubt that she was going to remember you.
Yeah.
But after a short time, Queenie returns to her mate Mickey. They've obviously developed a strong bond in a short time, and she's enjoying his company.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. She looks so content and happy. I know I made the right decision. I mean, much as we did its best for her, I knew she was lonely. I knew she needed a companion. And now she got one.
It's a sentiment echoed by the care team.
We obviously want them to see their animal doing well, and they are always doing well when they come to see them. But obviously the owner wants some recognition. They want the marmoset to recognise them, and most of the time that does happen, but not always. Kind of sad for the owner, but it's what we want. These are monkeys, and they're supposed to be with monkeys, so and if they're not reacting to their own, it means they're happy and they're settled here, and that's what we really want to see. So it was nice for Queenie's owner to see her and interact with her, but it might not be the same next time, and that's to be expected, and that's okay.
Queenie is thriving and content with her new life, and Jill is delighted the marmoset has found a companion to share it with.
Would you? She said hello, and she's gone back to what her life is now, and that makes me feel great. Really great.
Over at Hananya's enclosure, it's breakfast time for the 18 members of this established and well-settled group. This morning is a pretty calm and quiet affair. Everyone's tucking into their food, and when they've had enough, enjoying the warm sunshine. Everyone, that is, except Simon. He's about 27 years old, but he's still full of fun, constantly on the go, and quite the acrobat. Simon may be young at heart, but he's also a very astute and clever chimp. He knows exactly how the politics of chimp society work, and he's the perfect foil for Hananya, operating as his second-in-command.
Those two boys do kind of keep things ticking along and keep everyone happy. I think if it wasn't for the size difference and generally the females just fancy Hananya a whole lot more than him, then he would probably, I think he'd be an absolutely amazing dominant male. But he doesn't seem to want to take over from Hananya. He doesn't challenge him in that way. It's just if, say, Hananya's having a day where he's been a bit mean, really, then Simon might try and stand up to him, but for the most part, he just keeps out the boss's way. It's usually quite wise to do.
Simon grew up with most of the group, following his arrival in 1996, and lived in the chimp nursery along with Hananya, Shamak, and Arthur. It's a bond that stood the test of time. But as with all chimp groups, squabbles still erupt from time to time. Often over the smallest of things. And Hananya's group are no different.
They still fight, that's just chimps, so it's just how they get along. half their society's beating each other up and then the other half is kissing and making up. These guys, I would say, out of all of our chimp groups here, are probably the most dramatic. It can sometimes be the slightest little thing, but it's mainly just shouting at each other. You very rarely have anything serious. I think they just live for the drama sometimes, but, you know, they've got to entertain themselves somehow.
Simon and his old friend Shamak are important characters in the group. They help keep the others youthful and engaged, and also play a key role in maintaining the troop's equilibrium. The park covers an area of more than 65 acres, giving the care team access to plenty of natural habitat, including trees, plants and shrubs for the benefit of the primates. In the wild, the majority of the monkeys and apes spend most of their time living in the trees. Unfortunately, at the park, the chimpanzees and orangutans made short work of the living trees in their enclosures. They had to be replaced with sturdy climbing frames and hoses. But many of the smaller primates are less destructive and enjoy the benefits of living in naturally planted enclosures. The habitat also provides shelter for all sorts of bugs and insects, perfect for squirrel monkeys, who love to hunt.
This is a really nice open-topped enclosure for the squirrel monkeys to live in, and we have tried to put certain things in there because of the species that they are. So in this enclosure, we've made sure we've put a lot of plants that will attract native and wild insects. So as well as we feed them insects that we buy in, we also have provided them with this kind of environment so that they can catch their own wild insects, and also it's really good enrichment. It's probably better enrichment than we can ever really provide for them. It's a lot more natural for them to do, and it's a natural instinct that they can carry out.
There are 5 squirrel monkeys in the group, 3 common and 2 black-capped. And although the species wouldn't necessarily come across each other in the wild, the 5 do get on very well. The troop are all very active, even Turvy, who's an older lady. Her fellow black-capped companion Nueve arrived from Chessington Zoo. But the 3 common squirrel monkeys had a very different life experience prior to arriving at the park. Logan, Lucille and Lopez were rescued 3 years ago from appalling conditions at a house in Somerset. They were in a very poor state. Lucille was emaciated and Lopez was missing an eye. But the team at the park provided them with the right environment and diet, enabling the trio to thrive and settle into a more natural way of life.
Squirrel monkeys as a species are just high energy. There are some of the primate species that are more sedate, the sarkies, for example, they sit around a bit more. Squirrel monkeys are forever on the go. We very rarely see them sat down. They do sit down and groom occasionally, but most of the time they just go, go, go all the time. They eat a lot of insects. It's a high energy food because they need a lot of energy because they're so active. So it's kind of it's a bit of a cycle really. They need high energy food, so they want insects, but insects take high energy to catch them. So they have to eat those foods to be able to keep going and stuff. But yeah, they never sit still, these guys.
Hailing from the forests of Central and South America, squirrel monkeys are insectivores. The greatest proportion of their diet is made up of insects. They do eat other foods such as leaves, fruit and seeds, and even small animals. But insects packed full of calcium and other nutrients are their favourite. They often hunt by stealth. Their multifocal vision gives them great depth perception. Coupled with expert hand-eye coordination, it enables them to easily catch their prey using just their fingers. Unlike many New World primates, such as the woolly monkeys and spider monkeys, they don't have a prehensile tail. Instead, they use theirs for balance. They have incredible core strength, which allows them to reach out even when perched on the flimsiest of branches. The squirrel monkey enclosure is an ideal habitat. Its size and natural planting provides its residents with plenty of opportunity to hunt, encouraging them to exhibit natural behaviours. It's all part of the park's goal to rehabilitate so many of those in need. Keeping all the primates at the park busy and active is a top priority for the primate care staff. They're constantly looking for new ways to keep their charges interested and on the go. The park's 3 orangutan groups proved one of the biggest challenges. In the wild, they spend most of their time high up in the tree canopy. But captive orangs are more sedentary and, without enough exercise, can easily put on weight. They need motivation to work their bodies and muscles. Feeding time can be a problem. Breakfast is easy. It's put out before the primates are let into the enclosure. Meals later in the day are the issue. Getting the food up high when the orangutans are in the enclosure is extremely difficult. But Jeremy thinks he may have the answer.
What I want is to throw food from our towers into the enclosure up to something high, you know, so they're going to climb up and get it. Well, that's what I'm making here. This will be like a bowl, if you like, to gather the food. And if it works for one, obviously we've got to have at least 2 or 3. Otherwise, you know, one animal's going to get all the food. This is also, you know, we'll stress now, this is a prototype, like everything I make. And then, you know, we can encourage them off the deck, you know, and we can throw food from a distance into this, and it's big enough, you know, that it's going to catch it. Reasonable. I mean, you're bound to have some little miss, but then, you know, well, you know, practice makes perfect.
Jeremy's experimental contraption is going to be tested on Gordon and his 2 ladies, Xiaolan and A-mei. Jeremy is particularly concerned about A-mei.
The objective of this, primarily, entirely really, is to get orangs off the floor, particularly A-mei. A-mei is too fat, she's far too fat, and she needs to lose weight. And she doesn't, you know, we're trying to encourage her to climb around more.
A lot of work has gone into building the bowl-shaped feeder. And a lot of thought is needed when it comes to positioning it inside the enclosure.
I reckon you've got a good shot of getting it in there, but if you did it down here where you can definitely get it in, it's almost pointless.
It has to be high enough to encourage the orangutans to climb.
Sections from the top.
Yeah.
We're going to use that to hang the basket on.
Far enough away from the poles so they work to reach it. And secure enough to cope with the potential combined weight of 3 adults. Plus, it needs to be near enough for staff to throw the food in.
At the moment, because this is what we got, I'd rather have that.
So let's go for there. You've got half a chance of getting it in there, even if you lower it another 5 foot or something.
It's a full-on team effort finding the best position. Then, with everything set, time for Jeremy's prototype to undergo its first major test. Xiaolan leads the way and immediately spots there's something new, making straight for it. Gordon and A-mei are a bit more cautious, hanging back at first. It's not just the basket that's concerning them. All the hosing in the enclosure has been replaced too. Xiaolan reaches the new feeder and tucks in. Gordon decides if she can do it, so can he. Weighing in at close to 100 kilograms, he's the largest primate at the park. But that doesn't stop him moving nimbly and quickly along the apparatus to take a look. However, the big test is whether A-mei will rise to the challenge. No such luck. Glued to the ground, she picks at some fallen scraps.
Gordon and Xiaolan's been up there, and of course, the one person who's fat backside we want up there is sat on the ground waiting for the fallout, I think. She obviously knows that I'm a dreadful thrower, and the chances of me getting stuff in that is pretty remote. Come on, A-mei, get up there. There's no way. Don't give me that look. I divorced you a long time ago.
It seems A-mei's right. Throwing isn't Jeremy's forte, but he tries, and tries, and tries again.
You know, I'm getting a bit old for all this throwing stuff about, so it would have been nicer if it's closer, but that would have meant putting a whole load more climbing apparatus in, which maybe in the future we can do. But just to capitalise on this window, because they were in there anyway, let's get it in.
Jeremy's aim improves, and when food does land in the basket, Gordon and Xiaolan are enthusiastic, immediately off the ground and climbing. But A-mei's not for moving. A stubborn and focused female, if she doesn't want to do something, she won't.
The whole thing was to get A-mei more active and climbing and doing stuff. And so far, her feet haven't left the floor. Whereas, as you can see, Xiaolan was the first up there. Mind you, she didn't come out first, and then Gordon was 2 seconds behind her. But that is typical of A-mei. A-mei will give things a coat of looking at for quite a long time before she commits herself to it. So, I know her, so I'm not surprised. So, but I bet you she'll be up there. You know, temptation will get the better of her at some point.
But not just yet. However, it's a work in progress. And despite needing a few tweaks here and there, Jeremy's prototype feeder has been a success and is here to stay. Next time on Monkey Life. Worrying developments as the vets try to find out what's wrong with elderly chimp Kalu.
For her medical issues to catch up with her now would just be devastating.
And a new puzzle feeder proves a bit of a headache for Gibbon Dalumie. Today on Monkey Life, worrying developments as the vets try to find out what's wrong with elderly chimp Kalu.
For her medical issues to catch up with her now would just be devastating.
The end of The Odd Couple. Patas Monkey Meetsa mourns the loss of long-term companion George the lemur.
We're just making sure that we keep a really close eye on her, making sure we give her extra things to do, just so again she's not just focusing on the fact that George isn't here.
And a new puzzle feeder proves a bit of a headache for Gibbon Dalumie. Monkey World in Dorset, buried deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. The team, led by Dr. Alison Cronin, rescue and rehabilitate abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
You just never know how it's going to work.
The park provides a home for more than 260 monkeys and apes from 24 different species. Over the years, Monkey World has dealt with a plethora of physical and mental issues involving many of their primates. Much of it has stemmed from trauma, abuse and neglect in the monkeys' and apes' earlier lives. The primate care staff use their skills and experience to tackle and attempt to solve each individual's problems. But one newly arrived primate has them all but stumped. Elderly female chimp Kalu.
You know, Kalu's been through so much in her life. It's just sort of, you know, we finally get her here at such a latter stage of her life so that she can put her feet up, hang out with some friends. She loves Brian. She really likes Nari. Ash is okay. and we don't like rotters. That we know. So she's been doing really well, and I'm just so pleased that we gave her the opportunity. And for her medical issues to catch up with her now would just be devastating. It's just so sad, but you know, we have to stay focused on the ball and it's not about me, my feelings, any of our feelings. We have to stay focused and do the right thing for Kalu. And right now, that means finding out what is happening inside of her to make her so apathetic.
Kalu! Hey, you! Good girl!
It was apparent from the day she arrived at the park 6 months ago that Kalu wasn't fit. Health checks in South Africa and subsequently at the park revealed she has type 2 diabetes.
Hi.
She didn't respond well to oral medication, so the team changed tack and began to give her insulin injections instead.
Good girl. Well done, Kalu.
However, in the past few weeks, Kalu has started to lose more weight. She's eating less and less and has become listless and lethargic. Alison is worried and has called in wildlife vet John Lewis to take another look.
She's just so finicky and fussy. She's really hit and miss. Today she'll eat something and then tomorrow she won't.
The bit I can't deal with is between her ears.
It's an extremely serious situation. The team must manage Kalu's diabetes. She needs both insulin and diet management, a big problem if she refuses to eat.
At the moment, Kalu's struggling to process sugar. She's struggling to process potentially fats and proteins. Doesn't leave a whole lot else to keep a person going.
Local vet Dave Harding has arrived to help John with his assessment.
Cholesterol's a bit on the high side. Hardly surprising given that she lived on, cream donuts or whatever.
Dave's going to carry out an ultrasound to check Kalu's vital organs in the hope of ruling out anything sinister which may be the cause of her health problems. Kalu is hand-injected with anaesthetic and, once fully under, quickly transported to the park's hospital.
Chuck her on the scale quick.
Before John and Dave start their examination, the team take the opportunity to weigh Kalu in order to compare the reading they took a few months ago. At 37.8 kilograms, she has lost weight, but not as much as they suspected. John intubates Kalu and, once satisfied she's stable, the vet team gets started. There's a lot to do, and they need to work quickly. Being under anaesthetic for any length of time can be dangerous, and they already have concerns for the chimp's health. A number of blood samples are taken for analysis and comparison.
Do you want to do the ultrasound, Dave, now?
Yes.
Because that's most important. We've got bloods, and we'll work on a drip, I think, for her now.
With the light dimmed, Dave starts the ultrasound, carefully checking each organ and the area around the abdomen for anything untoward. Kalu's kidneys appear slightly enlarged.
It just looks irregular.
Was that true of both kidneys?
Yeah.
But her liver, normal.
The liver looks fine.
Dave moves on to Kalu's stomach. The team are wondering if she may have pancreatitis, but the ultrasound is inconclusive.
I'm just looking at the guts and around the pancreas area. I can't see any obvious abnormality there. So you see we get a lot of gas around here.
Dave can't get a clear picture of the area, but he does find something.
Gallbladder stones.
Oh, good. Gallstones.
Gallstones, yeah.
Gallstones. Quite a number of them here.
That can cause a pain from time to time.
Gallstones can be extremely painful if left untreated. It isn't something the team can deal with today, but they do need to come up with a plan of action to help Kalu.
And we're now an hour and 10 minutes in.
Kalu has been under anaesthetic for a long time, and John is growing concerned. They still have a number of tests to do. The team move quickly on to X-rays, which may show something the ultrasound didn't. But, again, there's nothing immediately obvious.
There wasn't anything definitive. There's some gallstones in there which could be causing a little bit of abdominal pain, but they're not likely to be significant in the context of what we're seeing here.
The vet team have exhausted all options for today. And apart from the gallstones, can't find anything that could be responsible for Kalu's condition. They'll have to wait for the blood test results before they can decide their next step.
There's nothing in there which stands out as the obvious cause of her apparent inability to absorb nutrients. The blood samples we will compare with bloods we took in February, so we can see what changes have occurred. And armed with that information, we should be able to design a treatment going forward.
Until they have more information, Kalu will be put on a course of antibiotics. But for now, she can be taken back to her house to recover. The team haven't quite run out of options yet, but the list is getting shorter. Many of the park's chimpanzees have come through serious medical conditions, recovering to lead contented and active lives as part of socially bonded groups. Because of this, and their determination to always go the extra mile, the care team feel there is hope for Kalu. Bart's troop make good examples. A few years ago, female Lola had a cataract removed. It made a huge difference to her life with the group, giving her back her confidence. And life for young boss Bart has been revitalised as he learns to live with type 1 diabetes and become the alpha male.
He's really settled into his role now. He's still got some bits to learn, but he's really sort of stepped up into that dominant male role, and if there's tension within the group, he will step in and displays between individuals. Sometimes the wrong person bears the brunt of his display, but for such a young lad, considering everything he's been through with his diabetes and losing his mum, and you know, he's doing a good job.
There's a wide age range in the group. It includes Bixer, who at 43 is one of the oldest chimps at the park. The youngest member is Toprish, who's around 10 years old. After a bit of a false start, she's now happy and content in the big outdoor enclosure, and full of zest and life. She's the perfect playmate for one of the park's originals, Buster. He may be getting on in years, but he's young at heart. And still prone to throwing the odd tantrum. But there's still a question mark over one of Bart's family. A few months ago, following a positive pregnancy test, the team were fairly certain Kathy was expecting.
I was pretty confident that we were looking at a pregnant individual, but obviously as the months have gone on, we've become less sure, and there are certainly physically, she looks pregnant, and of course we haven't seen anything else that would indicate that there's anything else going on. You know, her health seems good, but we're getting to the point now that really we're going to have to accept that that isn't what's going on, and maybe then at that point further investigations are going to be required.
Any unresolved health issue could have an effect on the group, but for now, Bart and his family are stable and content. One of the park's elderly residents is in need of some extra love and attention. A few days ago, Patus Monkey Meetser lost her best friend and companion, ring-tailed lemur George. Since then, she's been off her food, and the team are trying to keep her busy with plenty of enrichment.
We're just making sure that we keep a really close eye on her, making sure we give her extra things to do, try and keep her busy. Just so, again, she's not just focusing on the fact that George isn't here. He was a very old boy. He was 36 years old. He'd had a very good innings, but unfortunately his mobility was getting so poor, and we really think he was starting to struggle, so we had to unfortunately make the decision to have him put to sleep.
The unlikely pair came together 6 years ago after Mitsa lost her patas monkey companion, Sissy Joe. George was something of a loner amongst the other lemurs at Malagasy, so the team decided to pair them up. And much to everyone's delight, they hit it off. The pair became affectionately known as the Odd Couple.
Mitsa, I think, took on the role of George's protector and carer. She's doted on him completely and groomed him, and he's just basically lived like a little prince because she's loved him so much. So it worked amazingly well for a very long time. It was probably one of our strongest bonds in the park for the whole time they were together. There was never any issues. Sometimes Mitsa probably got a bit of George's food, but he was a little bit chunky anyway, so didn't really do him any harm. But they were just a really nice pair that just loved each other really and just hung out and were really settled.
George is thought to have been born in 1984 and was probably the oldest ring-tailed lemur in the country, if not the world. He never really got on with the other lemurs at Monkey World and kept to himself. In his later years, he suffered from arthritis and was on medication. Despite all this, he was a remarkable character.
He didn't really do anything for anyone else. He just did what he wanted to do. If that meant when he was up in Malagasy, just sit in the middle of the pathway with the public walking by, that was absolutely fine, and no one could shift him even if you wanted to try. He's been looked after by so many people, both here and his previous collection, and everyone that we've spoken to about him have always just loved him instantly. He's just such a great character to be around and to work with, and yeah, he's had so many carers, so it was a really sad day when we lost him, and it was felt around the park.
He may be gone, but he's unlikely to be forgotten.
The memory of him will always be here, because when you go into Malagasy, the board over Malagasy has got a great big picture of George on it, so he'll never be forgotten, and we can go up there and see him every day. But yeah, he was a true character and a true gent.
For the past 2 years, George and Mitsa shared an enclosure with the Guenons. But following the birth of the family's second baby, they moved to a space of their own to give them some peace and protect George from the sometimes over-enthusiastic Guenons who had started to irritate him. Now Mitsa is alone again, the team are considering moving her back in with the family of 4 for company. But first, they want to lavish some attention on the elderly patas monkey and make sure she copes with the loss of George. At the Gibbon complex, one of the park's newest partnerships, Muller's gibbons Nini and Dalumie, are about to be given a puzzle to solve. They'll want to crack it to reach their breakfast. The Gibbon team have been busy devising and building new feeders to test the pair and replicate some of the challenges they might find feeding in the wild.
We'll be popping in some of their fruit feed, which they got grapes and blueberries today. And we've used black tubes, so it's opaque, so they can't actually see the food inside them. And then we put some hose on the bottom, so they can't easily access it. So they actually do have to move the tubes around to be able to drop the food out. So it'll be fun to see if they can actually manipulate these tubes around to gain access to their food today.
Nini and Dalumie were paired up earlier in the year. They've only been living with each other full-time for 8 weeks.
Unfortunately, Dalumie lost her partner Adidas at the end of last year after a short illness, and she'd been with him for 18 years, so it was quite a bit of a shock for her, but we really wanted to give her another option of making that pair bond.
With noisy neighbour Kitty trying to grab Sian's attention,
Kitty!
The puzzle is set. The question is, can Nini and Dalumie solve it? The 2 gibbons are let into the enclosure. Female gibbons are usually more dominant, and Dalumie is no exception. She's first to tackle the new feeder. She immediately spots the fruit at the bottom of the tube. But the puzzle gets the better of her. A little more finesse is needed. Nini is a feisty character. He's lived with other gibbons in the past, But the partnerships weren't successful. He's missing his lower left arm, possibly as a result of an injury when he was stolen from the forest for the illegal wildlife trade as a youngster. But he's adjusted remarkably well.
Nini has spent most of his life with that one arm, so he's been able to adapt and evolve his swinging technique. He's incredible to see him go through the enclosures. He can still brachiate at great speeds. So even though he has lost that arm, it's still incredible what these animals can do.
Nini demonstrates just how versatile he is, hanging from his remaining arm and using his feet to manipulate the tubes. He doesn't solve the puzzle first time, but gives it another go. Dalumie is also persevering. She's determined to reach the fruit, and she's nearly there. She tips the tube far enough, but isn't quick enough to grab the prized fruit before it falls to the ground. It takes her a few seconds to realise what's happened. Then she heads down to gather her breakfast. Arboreal gibbons prefer to stay in the safety of the treetops, and she hangs from the fence rather than setting foot on the ground. As the morning progresses, both Nini and Dalumie make repeated attempts to reach the fruit. It's early days in their pairing, but the team hope they may one day sing together and signal a new and hopefully lasting bond. Another group enjoying their outside enclosure this morning are the stump-tailed macaques. They're considerably less agile than Nini and Dalumie, but the group of 8 love to forage and are making the most of the natural planting. They particularly enjoy their outside space during the warmer months, when there are lots of fresh leaves and branches for them to browse. These stumpies aren't the most acrobatic of primates. Some have serious mobility issues. But the enclosure is designed with this in mind and has plenty to keep them busy. Which is a good thing, as they can be a grouchy lot.
They're just a bunch of sort of grumpy old men and ladies living here. They don't really like anyone or anything. You'll give them something nice and they'll grab it, take it away from you, or then they might turn around and just give you a look or a swipe. They're not very subtle. There's not a lot of dignity involved in stumpies. There's a lot of pushing, shoving, grabbing, pulling, grunting. But that's part of their charm. I think that's how everyone who sort of sees them and works with them loves the stumpies.
The leader of this group of ugly monkeys, as they've become affectionately known, is Sam. He's 33 years old, which is quite an age for a captive stumpy, particularly given his past as a laboratory animal. Sam's recovered well from the dental issues that plagued him recently. He's back on form and successfully managing the group, as he has for the last 10 years. He's in charge of 5 females and 2 males, and all have their place in the pecking order.
The stumpy hierarchy is very, very strict, and it takes a very long time for people to move up or down the hierarchy, really. Sam has been in charge of our various stumpy groups since sort of 2009, when we lost our dominant male, Scott. He was sort of a bit of a reluctant leader. It just sort of fell to him as he was next in line, really. We have seen signs recently that he's sort of softening a bit towards Toto and Freddie, but he's done really, really well, and to sort of be carrying on at his age and for as long as he has, he's obviously sort of doing a good job.
The fact that the females like him contributes to Sam's ability to keep hold of the top spot. However, some of the girls have been spending a little more time with Toto and Freddie recently. When these 2 males arrived in 2016, it was assumed Toto, with his size, youth and good looks, would come in and take charge. But looks aren't everything, and it soon became obvious Toto was lacking in confidence and social skills. He didn't even attempt to take over, instead appearing nervous and confused. Luckily, he already had a friend in Freddie, who's continued to have his back. Joining them at the lower end of the hierarchy is the group's oldest stumpy, 36-year-old Flo. They've formed a happy and contented trio. The biggest challenge for the primate care team isn't managing this group's alliances and egos, but keeping a watchful eye on their weight. It's hard work encouraging them to move and be active.
We're trying to come up with ways that we can challenge them, make them climb a bit, make them work a bit more for their food. But obviously we have to tailor it so the animals like Sylvie and Charlie, who are quite agile and will climb, whereas Kelly's not really built for climbing anymore. She does have a bit of arthritis as well, but Kelly's never been the most mobile and active. So it's finding ways that they can all reach their food and get their food when they need it.
It's a constant battle juggling each individual's needs. But overall, the group are doing well and seem quite happy and content with life at the park. Next time on Monkey Life. Concern grows for the health of elderly chimp Kalu, as Jeremy offers comfort and TLC.
Tell you what, that might be nice. It's nutritious soup.
And orangutan Oshin demonstrates if there's enough of an incentive, she's prepared to climb. As long as she can make a rapid return to ground level with a tasty hoard. Today on Monkey Life, concern grows for the health of elderly chimp Kalu, as Jeremy offers comfort and TLC.
Tell you what, that might be nice. It's nutritious soup.
Baby Gwen on Nala shows she can cope without Mum when she has to.
She was off Mum and running around, very independent, even from such an early age.
And orangutan Oshin demonstrates if there's enough of an incentive, she's prepared to climb and returns to the ground with a hoard. Monkey World in Dorset, buried deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. The team, led by Dr. Alison Cronin, rescue and rehabilitate abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
I'm shocked. This animal is living in fear of its life.
The park provides a home for more than 260 monkeys and apes from 24 different species. At Brian's group, concern is growing for the life of elderly female Kalu. She took longer than expected to recover from the effects of an anaesthetic following a health check 2 days ago, and is still off her food and very lethargic. She doesn't want to go outside to join the other chimps and is listless and disinterested. The team are so worried that Jeremy has been going into the bedroom to be with her and give her some much-needed TLC.
We're only 2 days post-vet check now. Signs of improvement, but I'm still very concerned about her, whether she's going to recover from this whole event.
She likes the bits rather than the sauce.
Jeremy's actually been going in with her just to give her a little bit of support, because that's what she's been used to, human companionship.
Tell you what, that might be nice. Don't know why he only gave you that little bit, but it's nutritious soup. She says, if it's good for you, I don't want it.
To be honest, that's what's going to pull her through this, is the will to live. We're throwing everything we can at it, medically, husbandry-wise, hoping that we can give her that chance to live with chimpanzees again. You know, I've got everything crossed that we can fix her, and the keepers can work their magic. But it's, we're in a critical time with Kalu, and her life's in the balance right now.
Not long after she arrived from South Africa 6 months ago, Kalu was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. The team now suspect she's also suffering from pancreatitis, inflammation of the pancreas, which aids digestion. It also produces insulin to meet the body's needs. The two conditions often go hand in hand.
Now she's getting nothing nutritionally. She might be eating, but her body isn't absorbing anything. And I believe, and that's what we all believe right now, is Kalu's problem, is that she's unable to digest all of her food. And it's really just taken a toll on her. She's, you know, an older lady. She's 37, 38 years old. We're not exactly sure how old. And she's suffering.
Kalu's additional medical conditions were discovered during an ultrasound and series of x-rays.
She's filled full of gallstones. Her gallbladder has like, I don't know, 20 or more. You can just see it white on the ultrasound. And that is uncomfortable as well. Whether it's truly causing her to cripple up and go off of her food and not want to get up, it's possible. We can't really do anything about that now. She's staying inside the house with the keepers and Jeremy visiting her. We just need to stay focused on trying to get her eating and drinking in a good routine, to get an appetite on her, and hope that we can build up her strength from what it was before. But this has just been a nutritional perfect storm nightmare for Kalu. And, you know, I'm glad she's here because we can diagnose these things and then try and treat them, and try and give Kalu that family that she deserves for those last days or years of her life. So, and I'm hoping it's going to be years, not days.
At the Gwenon house and enclosure, the family of 4 are outside enjoying life. It's been 7 weeks since parents Benny and Nia welcomed their second baby. It's a healthy girl, and staff have now named her Nala, meaning princess. She's already a confident and lively little character.
Gwenon's developed very quickly. At 2 weeks, the little one, Nala, was able to actually start eating solid food, and she was off mum and running around, very independent, even from such an early age. So, yes, she's still a juvenile, she's still suckling, and she's still being very well looked after by mum and dad. We have seen her playing with her older sister, Biff, as well. Benny doesn't have much to do with the baby, but if anything around them poses any kind of a threat, then Benny's right there, giving his Gwenon threat face and making sure that mum and baby and older sister Biff are all well protected and out of the way of danger.
Benny and Nia had a traumatic start to life. They were stolen from the forests of Benin and destined for life in the pet trade. But they were confiscated in transit by the authorities in Lebanon, placed in the care of a local animal charity, and eventually rehomed at Monkey World. They became the only legally kept red-bellied Gwenons in captivity in the world, and have thrived since arriving at the park. The care team have decided the pair's 2 daughters are enough to complete their family for now. So, to maintain the status quo, every morning before being let outside, Mum Nia is given the contraceptive pill.
Nia.
Artfully hidden inside a tasty grape.
At the moment, we don't want them to breed anymore. We think that 4 with this enclosure and the way that we can manage them is enough, and it's enough for them. And so at the moment, Nia is being given contraception, and we give her a pill every morning, which will just stop her getting pregnant again. But it isn't the end of the world. You know, if ever we did want her to breed again, then we just simply stop giving her the pill and she can carry on breeding. But that's not something we're looking at doing for a little while yet.
This morning, the family group have been given some fresh browse, along with logs covered in seeds and nuts. Nia is once again proving to be an excellent mum, taking her role very seriously. Although when there's food around, she sometimes forgets little Nala is there. The infant doesn't seem to mind. She's getting more and more confident every day. And she has big sister Biff to watch and learn from. In the wild, Gwenon groups are constantly on the move, foraging for food in the tree canopy. Babies have to cling on to mum or learn quickly to keep up. It hasn't taken long for Nala to grasp this lesson. While Mum Nia is occupied looking after her infant, 17-month-old sister Biff is spending more time with Dad Benny, keeping him on his toes. Watching over one very active youngster is hard work, but two, well, that's going to be a real handful.
I'm not sure if it'll make life easier for the parents having two very energetic babies. I think as they grow up together, they're just going to get more of the playing that we're seeing will happen, and hopefully it will mean that Nia and Benny can have a bit of a break and that the girls will be able to entertain themselves as well. It really is a nice young family group, and really as natural as we can give them a life is what we've tried to do.
It's been a month since the care team completed one of the park's biggest ever shake-ups of its primate residents. 7 out of 24 woolly monkeys have now been relocated to different groups. It's led to the creation of Monkey World's first ever all-male woolly bachelor group. The move was vital because woolly monkeys are prone to stress, and some of the mixed groups contained too many males. A number of individuals needed to be relocated for social reasons, and to maintain the balance of the gene pool, and it seems to have paid off. There are now 4 happy and contented groups.
3 out of our 4 woolly groups have had sort of new members, the bachelor group being a complete new group, obviously. So it was the first time we've tried sort of a group like this at the park, especially with 3 so relatively big boys. They're doing quite well. We can never really predict how the groups are going to kind of sort of gel together and who's going to be where. It's an ever-changing thing, especially when you've got youngsters growing up. So yeah, at the moment we're quite happy with how they've actually got getting along. So yeah, it's just kind of keeping an eye on them and making sure they're all still happy living with each other.
Today, the top woolly monkey group, led by Levar, are in for a real treat. They're being given whole, fresh strawberries, along with mashed up avocado, frozen in pine cones. Both foods are full of vitamins and nutrients to help keep them fit and healthy. But the prickly pine cones may test their patience. The team aren't making it easy, hiding the food and tasty treats all around the large tree-filled enclosure. Xingu is first out. She has a new baby on board, so takes a slow and measured approach, contact calling the others as she goes. The infant, now just over a month old, is a boy, and staff have named him Leroy. He clings on tight as Xingu moves around the enclosure on the hunt for food. When Mum hangs upside down to feed, Leroy must too, clinging on securely to her fur with fingers and toes and wrapping his tail around her body. It's no mean feat for little Leroy, but will help build his strength and coordination as he grows. Xingu's eldest daughter Olivia demonstrates how important this is. Woolly monkeys are perfectly adapted to life in the trees, and Olivia uses her tail to suspend herself, freeing up both hands to grab as many strawberries as she can. Her sister Layla, just 2 years old, has grown up in this enclosure and has a great head for heights, confidently moving around the ropes and trees on her own. The troop are all under the watchful and caring eye of leader and dad, Levar. He's now 30 years old, getting on for a woolly monkey, but still fit and healthy. He's been alpha male for more than 19 years. There are 2 other younger males in the group, Cosmo and Bueno Jr., who clearly has a liking for frozen avocado. But Levar has now got another adult female to keep him company. Pichihua joined the group a month ago and has settled in incredibly well. She has taken to life in the big forest enclosure, comfortably navigating the trees and apparatus. She's also struck up a relationship with Olivia. After an incredibly busy 8 months for the woolly monkey team at the park, all their charges are settled and happy in their new groups. They'll continue to monitor the well-being of these very special and rare monkeys. The park is experiencing some very warm weather, and as temperatures soar, keeping the primates cool and hydrated becomes a priority for the primate care staff. At the orangutan nursery, the team have come up with a way of keeping the group of 5 refreshed, as well as stimulating their bodies and minds. They're hiding frozen fruit inside Ketapat puzzle feeders.
So they've been using these for a while now. Some of them are getting much better at them, some of them still do struggle, but it's a very good way of stopping any hoarding in the orangutan house. So all we do, it's a very quite hard pattern. You can see this one can stretch out. We can pop some frozen fruit in there. Sometimes we'll undo it if we've got large melons and things like that as well. And it just takes them a very long time to manhandle it and get it out. It gets all of their joints moving, gets them stronger as well, particularly with Oshin. That's very, very helpful. So hopefully we'll see some more wildish orangutan positions whilst we're watching them when they go out this morning.
The ketapats, stuffed with refreshing frozen melon, are suspended all around the enclosure. But James is also hiding frozen nectarines in unexpected places.
You'll never know.
As well as sugar-free ice lollies. The slippery, icy treats should be a fun form of enrichment for the group. The 2 boys, Sylvester and Bulu Mata, are first into the enclosure. They're followed by Rika, who gets the point, climbs high, and snaffles some fruit in seconds. Now she needs to work out how to get to the rest. She works away at the puzzle feeder, demonstrating amazing core strength and agility as she clings onto the cargo net. But it's the youngest member of the group, Mimi, who dives straight in with great skill, sucking on a nectarine with an ice lolly nonchalantly slung over one shoulder. Rika is in Olympic gymnast mode, prizing out a nectarine with her hands while holding onto an ice lolly with her feet. Definitely a gold medal performance. In the wild, food sources, particularly seasonal fruit, can be scarce. So an orangutan's metabolism prepares for leaner times by storing fat. Orangutans also have the slowest metabolism of any primate. It's the same with captive orangutans. They have a general tendency to put on weight due to their often sedentary lifestyle. It's why the primate care staff are constantly thinking up ways to keep the primates active. Oshin is one of their greatest challenges. For the first 13 years of her life, she lived as a pet in South Africa. First in the family home, and later an enclosure. She walked upright, spending most of her time on the ground. Still her preference. She has a tendency to hoard food, but today, if she wants a treat, she'll have to work for it. The lure of the frozen delicacies up high forces her to climb. And when she puts her mind to it, and there's a reward in sight, she's perfectly capable. But in typical Oshin style, she collects as many as she can carry and is soon back on the ground, happy and content to work her way through the horde. The challenging frozen treats have kept the nursery group active and interested. And it's turned a warm start into a pretty cool morning. Primates are generally highly social animals, with many species living in large family groups or extended troops. They have well-developed communication and social strategies, which help build and affirm relationships. But many primates arrive at the park having been rescued from solitary lives. They don't know how to interact and behave with others of their own kind. None more so than the park's marmosets.
Animals that come in for the pet trade are very different because they, most of the time, have lived on their own, taken away from the parents at a young age, so they don't have the social skills that most marmosets, obviously in the wild or in zoos, would naturally have. And that's one of the biggest things that we have to face when doing intros. Every marmoset in the park has their own personality, and we have to try and match those personalities, a bit like a dating site. And they're not easy, and they're not, they're time-consuming, and it can be quite difficult if they don't get on. Because all you really want when they get here is to let them start their happy life, but before we can get to that, we have to get them through this introduction process.
Putting individuals together isn't always easy. 6 months ago, Alison rescued 3 female marmosets.
Oh, it's very exciting.
All came from different circumstances and backgrounds, but they had one thing in common. They were all victims of the British pet trade. The team at Monkey World excel at matchmaking groups and pairings with their own kind, and got to work. It took numerous attempts, plenty of patience, and multiple introductions, but their futures are looking promising.
So currently, touch wood, right now at the moment, 6 months on, we have all those 3 in comfortable pairs and happy and settled at the moment. So Jenny is living with Albert, Queenie is living with Mojo, and Millie Martin is living with Jock.
Of the 3, Millie Martin is the team's biggest success story. She's a young female common marmoset who suffered horrific abuse at the hands of one of her former owners. When she arrived at the park, she was terrified, nervous of everything and everyone. Her rehabilitation has been remarkable. With the love and care of the Primate care team, she's starting to flourish, and she has a new friend, Jock.
It's really nice to see Millie now and to see her progression from when she arrived at the park, but she's still not perfect. She's still not completely happy and completely settled, and I think it's going to be a very, very long time until she is that way. But from the 6 months she's been here, she has made a massive, massive improvement, and we're really happy with how it's going.
Today, the pair have been given a treat, large pine cones stuffed with grapes and a little bit of jam. Millie arrived at the park malnourished and underweight. Today, she's looking far healthier. She's thoroughly enjoying today's enrichment, reaching and stretching, using her core strength to seek out the tasty morsels. And when she's tired, she's confident enough to join Jock in the hammock and allow him to groom her, an important step in social bonding. Millie is well on her way to a brighter, happier future. It's been a busy year for Alison and the team, with numerous rescues, both at home and abroad.
Gotta get more than that. Out of that stinky box. Yay.
On top of that, the team had to deal with a global pandemic, posing a threat to them and their charges.
To be honest, the unknown is perhaps the greatest sort of scare of all. We just don't know.
But as the months went by, newborns brought hope. And while the majority of the primate residents flourished, and the lives of some remained in the balance, no matter what next year brings, Alison and the team will continue in their mission.